Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this English lesson series, I will tell you most of the common silent letters and combinations that cause difficulties for English learners with rules and examples, and which will help you understand when to use some silent letters. But remember, there are usually some exceptions. Now, what are silent letters called? Silent letters are just called silent letters. In some slang terms, they are also called dummy letters. There is no linguistic or phonetic name for silent letters except silent letters. Silent letters are ones that you don't pronounce when saying a word. They are written down but you don't say them out loud. There are numerous words with silent letters in the English language. Let's first go over the letters that are rarely if ever silent. These are F, Q, R, V and Y. In British English, there can be some silent R's, but that's a matter of dialect. So, if there are 5 letters that are not silent, then we can say that there are 21 silent letters in English. So, without any further delay, let's look at the 10 words with silent letters in English with rules and examples part 2. Let's look at a first word with silent L. Now, let's look at the rule. L is not pronounced after the vowels A, O and U. Let's look at the examples. Calm, half, talk, walk, would, should, could, calf, salmon, yolk, chalk, balm. Now let's look at the exception words. Hello, bulk, sulk, hold, sold, fold and mold. Now let's look at the examples with silent L. In a calm sea, every man is a pilot. I'll take the smaller half. I'm going to talk to Tom when he comes home. We spent the bulk of the summer at the beach. She lost her hold on the rope and fell to the ground. She sold all of her furniture so she could afford to feed herself and her dog. Let's look at a second word with silent PH. Let's look at the rule. PH is sometimes pronounced like F. Let's look at the examples. Telephone, paragraph, alphabet, epiphany and sophomore. Let's look at the examples with silent PH. I just have to make a quick telephone call before we leave. The 2 introductory paragraphs were written by the editor. There are 26 letters in the English alphabet. The traumatic epiphany changed my life completely. Natasha was a sophomore the year I graduated. Let's look at a third word with silent W. Rule number 1. W is not pronounced at the beginning of a word when it is before the letter R. Let's look at the examples. Rap, right, wrong, ring, wreck, wrestle and wrist. Let's look at the examples with silent W. I am trying to wrap up everything as fast as I can. Write down exactly what you want. He was still wrong. Let me ring you out. Tom is a wreck. Let's look at the rule number 2. W is not pronounced in the following words. Let's look at the examples. Who, whose, whom, whole, whoever, answer, sword, to, etc. Let's look at the examples. The boy who sat beside him was his son. This is the book whose title I couldn't remember. Whom do you like best? The whole term is sick. They wouldn't give me a straight answer to my question. Let's look at a fourth word with silent WR. Let's look at the examples. Wrangle, wrap, wreath, wrench, wreck, wrestle, wriggle, ring, right, wrong, etc. Let's look at the example. Why don't you wrangle for me? The bride wore a veil with a wreath of silk flowers. I'll write something every day. Then he started feeling guilty as if he was doing something wrong. He was able to wriggle through the narrow opening. Let's look at a fifth word with silent P. Let's look at the rule. P is not pronounced at the beginning of many words using the combinations PS, PT and PN. Let's look at the example. Psychiatrist, pneumonia, pneumatic, psychotherapy, psychotic, psychologist, pseudonym, pterodactyl. Let's look at the examples with silent P. The doctor diagnosed the illness as pneumonia. Our car has pneumatic brakes. He had psychotherapy to help him deal with his childhood traumas. He writes estimable poetry under a pseudonym. An assessment by an independent educational psychologist was essential. Let's look at a sixth word with silent U. Let's look at the rule. U is not pronounced when it comes after G and before a vowel. Let's look at the examples. Guess, guidance, guitar, guest, guild, guard, etc. Let's look at the examples with silent U. She can only guess what he meant. I couldn't have done it without her guidance. I want a guitar. I went to the theatre club as Helen's guest. Two soldiers must be on guard all night. Let's look at a seventh word with silent letter KN. Let's look at the examples. Knack, knee, kneel, knife, no, night, knuckle, knit, knob and knot. Let's look at the examples with silent letter KN. I have a knack for spotting traitors. Lucy had a bandage round her knee. He placed a knife at her neck. She knows that many people will not believe her. Tom and Natasha are going to tie the knot this spring. Let's look at the eighth word with silent T. Let's look at the rule. T is not pronounced in these common words. Let's look at the examples. Castle, Christmas, fasten, listen, often, whistle, thistle, bustle, hasten and rapport. Let's look at the examples with silent T. I like castles. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. She tried to warn him of the dangers, but he wouldn't listen. He was often making trouble among his neighbors. We had a real good rapport with the company. I have just returned from my benefactor and hastened to write down what I have experienced. Let's look at a ninth word with silent letter GN. Let's look at the examples. Gnaw, net, gnash, null, gnome, sign, rain, foreign, sovereign, design, campaign, align, assign, etc. Now let's look at the examples with silent letter GN. She gave fresh momentum to the campaign. That's a good sign. He's always very timid and gnashes his teeth in fear if the lights are out. Tom assigned the job to Natasha. Tom speaks 2 foreign languages. What a splendid reign the Emperor Alexander's might have been. Let's look at a 10th word with silent S. Let's look at the rule. S is not pronounced before L in the following words. Let's look at the examples. Island, isle, isle and islet. Let's look at the examples with silent S. He went to the island looking for treasure. The isle is pretty small. By the end of the concert, the people in the theatre were dancing in the aisles. The boat pulled toward the islet. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this English lesson series and learned a lot. So you can continue studying with me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching.